Morning everybody. If you'll allow me, I'm just going to introduce you to a little hobby of mine. I've been making jewellery for maybe about 12 years or so. Made some interesting stuff, even if I say so myself. Well, recently I mentioned I go to that Slimming World thing. There's a musician that turned up and he got some spare parts. These are end caps from trumpets and whatever he did say, I can't remember. And I thought maybe I could work with these. So anyway, I came up with this, a little brass and sterling silver pendant. I need to set a stone in the middle of that. I may use this little drill, obviously we're not that on, with a little burr, and put radiating lines all the way around. Yeah, but quite interesting to make that, because it's not easy to solder brass and silver, because they're what's known as dirty metals. They oxidise really quickly, and getting that bale on there and heating it up, because I use this, which I'll show you soon. That's a Smith's mini torch. It's gas and oxygen, so it gets really hot. And these tips are interchangeable, and I've got all these on here, so it goes from number 3 to number 7. The ones I mainly use are a number 4 and 5, 7 for melting. But I've also got, if I can get it, this. That's called a rosebud tip, and that's what you use for melting. I think it's probably up to about 20 grams of silver or gold. Yeah, quite interesting. But this little pendant is this one. I'm going to put it in the polishing machine, which I'll show you now. That's the polishing machine, this tool. That's an ultrasonic for cleaning. Now this works if I can do it with one hand. Filming this on my phone, so it's a bit awkward. Take that lid off. Drop it in. A bit awkward with one hand. If anybody fancies getting into this hobby, I highly recommend it, but I'll guarantee you this one thing: it's not cheap. So we'll just put it on for about 20 minutes. This might be a bit noisy, so get ready. That just spins. There's little balls of stainless steel in there, and it polishes that item. And we'll leave it in there for about 20 minutes until it stops. Right, that's it out of the polishing machine. Been in there for about 20 minutes. It's still not as shiny as I like it to be, so that's where this little beauty comes in. It's called a micromotor. These are the polishing compounds. This is the green one. And what we do, just run over it. It really makes it pop. The guy that gave me these brass bits, I'm gifting this for his wife. Assuming it turns out how I think it's going to. Quite often in this hobby, things can and do go wrong. All that little decoration in with the ball bear, all these little dimples on here. Quite satisfying doing this. I hope you can hear me alright, I'm recording this on my phone. Eventually, this little CZ's going to go in there, all being well, like that. It's really nice. Assuming it all comes off. Right, next stage is the ultrasonic. This is the ultrasonic cleaner. We'll drop it in and we'll set it off. Watch all that rubbish disappear from that. One of the first stages in this process is annealing, which is obviously making the metal softer, which makes it more pliable. This is a little bit thick, it's about 1mm. I want it down to about 0.7. So I'm going to thin it off, but I'll show you that process in a minute and how we do that. First of all, like this, and I'll do it, see if I can do it without melting my phone. I'm going to anneal this. I need to do it till it just goes to a cherry red. I don't know if you can tell, but it's just starting to change colour. And this obviously makes it more pliable. And I think we'll use this bit of silver to try and make a dome pendant. Should be enough. And I'll quench it in water. Then it goes in here. Just a normal crock pot with what they call pickle. And that gets rid of all the oxides. Takes a few minutes. While we're waiting for that plate to pickle, I'm going to use this strip of silver here to make a bezel for this. And it needs to be about 0.5 mm to 1 mm too tall, so it fits. I don't know if you can see that. Something like that. We'll make it all the way around that and then solder it together. First of all, I think we'll just flatten that. I'll find an hammer. Always better to work with a flat piece. Square the end off. What you can do is a calculation for this, but oftentimes I prefer to do it like this. Just bend it round like that. I hope this video is clear enough. See, that's a little bit too much, so just bend it back. Don't have to be perfect, and then if you want, keep hold of it, you can just wrap it around like that. This strip's got to be annealed as well, so you get it something like that. Then what you can do, make a judgment. Sorry if my fingers are in it where. You can make a judgment of where you're going to cut it, but that's going to be way too big, that. So all you do is just cut it short. And then we can stretch it back up. So we'll do it around about like there. And cut it. That round. Prefer to work with it slanted towards me. Get these two to meet, tease them together, cross it over like that, and just snap it back. Easier said than done. Get them together like that, no steps, no gap. This is the flux that we're going to use. This is borax. A little bit of water in and mix it in. It's a nice paste. You don't want it too runny or too thick. This is what we use to keep the metal clean during soldering. It's a nice creamy paste like that. I use a normal artist brush and just paint a little bit of flux on the joint all the way around. And this is hard solder. You have to make sure your solder's clean as well. Because it won't flow properly. Just chop a tiny amount off and flux that as well. This is a ceramic pad. It soaks heat up really nicely. But it wasn't cheap. This hobby is not cheap. And what I like to do is ball the solder up like that, pick it up, then hit the joint, till the solder goes clear, the flux goes clear, and pop it on. And it flows straight into the joint like that. And we need to quench and pickle this as well, and then we'll look at that plate that we did earlier. Right, this is the plate that we did earlier, so it's all oxidisation free. What I'm doing here, just off camera, is rubbing the saw blade and a little bit of beeswax. Cut these extra bits off. So we won't need those. Right, I'll show you the next stage. This is the Durston Agile 130 rolling mill, and we're going to roll this. At the minute it's about 1mm. I want to take it down to about maybe 0.7, 0.6. This is a great tool. Expensive bit of kit, mind, but what you do, lock it onto it like that, roll it off, and turn it about 5 minutes, and then roll through like that, and then back. Check the size again. Through again. check again. 0.91. That'll do us 0.63. Right, we'll nail it again. We'll use the number 70 this time, get a bit more heat onto it, so we get a bigger flame. Before we go any further, we'll flatten this best we can with a nylon hammer, make it a bit easier to work with. This is the bezel we made earlier, fresh out of the pickle, so there's no oxides on it, good dry, so you don't introduce water onto your steel tools. And what we're going to do, we want to make it nice and round. Turn it around so it doesn't take the shape of the mandrel on. It's a bit awkward doing this and filming it, so I'm having to work in a slightly different way. It's nice and round, and we'll try it on the stone, and it's too big, so we may be able to do something about that without cutting a piece out. I'll show you that now. This handy little tool here is a ring stretcher and reducer. It's got all different size holes in here. We'll find one that fits in, and turn it and do that. This is a handy little tool, this. What you could do is make it far too small, like that, on both sides. So now it's far too small, and then we can do this. I'll have to put this down while I do this bit. The other part of it is this, and this opens things up. Just do it very gently. Seems like a lot of messing about, I suppose it is, but we're after precision. It's got to look right when it's done. Now that's almost in. I'll show you the next stage. That's it, almost in. Not quite. So what we're going to do now, this is a half round needle file. We'll file it till it fits. Not only does it ensure a tight fit, it ensures that it's smooth inside. This could take a bit of time. If it does, I'll just cut bits. Almost. That is really close. Still not quite. What we can do, to encourage it a bit further, is we can do this. A steel hammer, just tap. use steel because it's more efficient. There you go, perfect. You've got to be able to get it in from the top, like that. That's how it fits, no gaps. On to the next stage. Right, seeing as this is going to be a domed pendant, what I would normally do if it was just a flat back is just solder it directly onto that, but we're not going to do that. So we're going to use a ball bear, if you can see that. And this one, too small. It's a 2mm ball bear. I'm going to draw all the way around, and obviously this is going to be too big, but we need it too big because we're going to dome it, and when you dome it, it reduces the top. It doesn't have to be perfect. So we can reduce it. We just need this line so we know where to cut. Just something like that. And we'll cut that out. Keep it well lubricated. It all needs a tug. What we need to do now, grab a file, turn that round again, can't work like that. Just file up to that line, make it a bit rounder. If you look at that now, it's far too big. We might take it down a bit further actually. In the next stage, we're going to dome that, the doming block. Right, this is the doming block. What do we get? A punch, make sure it fits in, put the piece. Now I'll try and do this without knocking my phone off. I need to get a bit brutal with it. Starting to dome. So we're going to a smaller one, different punch. Can put a bit of tape on like that to protect it. What we want is something like that. Right, to get it to fit even better, I'm just going to file across. This is really difficult to do with it being a dome. Gently file it. That fits even nicer. No steps, no gaps. But we're going to add a little back plate onto that. because we need something for the stone to sit on. Because if it was just in there, the stone will push through. So I'll roll that a little bit thin. I won't show you that because you've already seen it. What I tend to do before I solder, just rough it up a little bit. Helps the flux to stick better. Something like that. And we'll put a little bit of flux on, which is dry out. Paint it on. And then we'll choose a side for this, which is going to be the top, which is going to be the bottom. That can be the bottom. Just file it flat. This also cleans the metal. Makes it solder a lot easier. As hopefully you'll see. Right, that's ready for soldering. And for this we're going to use medium solder. Because we've already got a solder joint in that bezel, and if we use hard again, it may open up. And then for the dome part, we'll use easy. Right, I'm going to place 3 or 4 pieces of solder, medium solder. That flux brush on the outside. Then we'll heat it up. Nice and gentle. I'm using a number 6 tip for this. I'm going to start here and let the heat run up that way. And heat it up very gently. Allow all that heat to travel up. You can see it's starting to bubble the flux. We'll be ready with this solder pick in case we need to move these little solder chips. Try not to melt my phone. Just let it heat up gently. That way we don't have any melting accidents. Because believe me, it does happen. You need the biggest piece to get hot first. And hopefully when it's ready you'll see the solder take off. The other solder started to run. If you can see that. I want it to run all the way around like that. So there's no empty spots. Quench and pickle. Right, we're out at pickle again. So we need to cut it similar to we did before. File it all up. Get it all looking nice. I also think that my eyesight's superb. It's not. I use this, an Optivisor. That's with a number 7 lens in it. Fantastic bit of kit that. Not cheap mind, but nothing in this hobby is. I'll do a similar thing what we did before, but I'm just going to match it up so there's no step. What we do then, these are buff sticks. You can buy these, but I make them myself. I just smooth it all off like that. Gets rid of all lines and drag marks and file marks. That's the bezel ready. There's a little bit of solder in there, we'll bear that out later, otherwise the stone won't fit. So it'll catch on that. That's the last bit that we put in that didn't flow properly, but we'll get rid of that later. Right, we need to fit that onto there, like that, and that's going to be his dome. But we can't solder it on a solid back like that, because if we don't drill a hole in here and we solder it with that, it could explode, because there's nowhere for the gases to go. So we don't really need to do this, but I'm going to try and find the middle roughly. Just do it like that. And then bang in the middle of that little H is the centre. So you don't have to be as precise as that, because nobody's ever going to see it, but I do like to get things as perfect as I can. Put the drill in with my frame, and what we do, bang in the middle of that, use a small ball bear, and we just use any drill. This particular one is 1.4mm. Put a bit of cutting compound on. And then we'll drill. We'll drill straight through that. Like that. I think we'll use a comb burr. That's a comb burr. And just open it up a touch more. Like that. It's not banging centre, but it doesn't matter. Like I said, nobody's going to see it anyway. Don't have to flux both parts, but I always do, so it usually transfers off that. If you look directly down and see whether it's on properly or not. We can make slight adjustments afterwards. Then we use easy solder, clean it again. Cut quite a few bits off, it's quite a big joint is that. I'm going to pick solder them. Obviously make sure they're all fluxed. Would highly recommend you always flux your solder. Keep it clean, because that oxidises as well, it's because there's silver in it. I'm using number 4 torch stick for this when I find my lighter. And what we'll do, we'll very gently warm it up just to stick that flux. It turns into like a glue. Gently warm it up like that. Pick some solder up, heat the whole piece. Heat it up, the solder will stick to it. Remember, this soaks a lot of heat up, which is really what we want it to do in this case. A little bit more gas in here, I think. Get it a bit hotter. See the solder flow all the way around. Put a bit more on because we can always get it off. Perfect. Quench and pickle again. Right, that's it out at tumbler. Looking quite shiny. We'll make a nice bell for it. Small barrel bell, I think. I'll show you how to make that. I might try and make it with this gallery wire. Got a nice little pattern on it. I've had it for quite some time, this. It's 4.1mm wide and 0.9 thick. I think that'll make a nice bell, that. I'll square it off first. And turn it with pliers. It's not perfectly round, but it don't need to be at this stage. I'll have a go at that. If that don't work, we'll try something else. I've cut from inside out so I don't mark it. tease it together, 2 pair of pliers. Let's get rid of any steps. Just a little bit offset, so that's with these coming on the parallel pliers. I'll just twist it back like that. Tiny piece of solder. Always cut a bit more if we need to. I oftentimes use this as well, those cheap creme brulee torches. These come in handy for soldering, just tiny little jobs like this, safe turning hot gas and everything on. Oftentimes in jewellery you have to make compromises. This is the file handle. Just going to use this to just tap it round, hopefully without causing too much damage. What we're going to do next, pop it into one of these. Perhaps that one. Use 2 hammers. Give this a little clean up. This stuff is called hyphen. It's mainly a polish for aluminium, but it works really well on jewellery. As you'll see in a minute. Like that. Before we go any further, I need to put that little beveling on, because if we solder that on, the bell on, we won't be able to get into file. Smaller one. This is a 1.6mm, and we want it slightly away from the edge that we've just filed in, otherwise we won't be able to get into it. Do a little channel. Like that. Do a little channel into it for this to sit in. I've got it set up. It's all straight and ready to go. Just have a double check in a minute. Yep. What we're going to do, I'm going to warm it up very gently. Then we're going to check that again to make sure that it hasn't moved. Yep, perfect. Then you blow the flame out. And I need quite a bit of heat for this. Need to heat the body of the pendant first, because that will melt. I need to pop the solder on when it gets up to temperature. It runs through like that. Pop a bit more on there. You've got to know when to use another little bit, because you can easily flood it. Perfect. Yep. Mention pickle and we'll clean it up. Right, so we're ready for setting. There's a few ways we can do this, but I'm going to show you the most efficient way. But there's a little bit of solder, I need to get rid of that first. As if not, it's one under a stone setting that, or under a stone sitting improperly. Just need to get rid of that. I think we're alright at that. Right, there's a few ways we can do this. I'm going to show you the most efficient way, and that's this. That's a Dremel engraver. You won't think it'd work, but it does. There's some little tips there. I don't know if you can see that, it's a very slight angle to it. What we do, we turn this on, and you very gently around there like that, and it hammers it on. But it's noisy, so I won't be able to talk to you while I'm doing it. So what we'll do, we'll set the stone in like that. Now that ain't coming out. It'll definitely not be coming out in a minute. So bear in mind it's noisy. I'll have to try and edit the sound down a bit. Ready? Try to keep my hands out that way best I can. But that ain't going anywhere. To finish it off, you can use one of these. Again, this is what you make yourself. It's a burnisher. Very, very carefully go around the edge. We'll see what it looks like when we've done this next bit. This is called a brownie wheel. You can't go near the stone with this because it will scratch it. What you have to do is very, very gently clean all those hammer marks off. As gently as you can. It's a little bit awkward, we can't get into that, but we can do it with this. Smooth it off. Does exactly the same job. And to finish off, we'll use what's called a greenie, which is that. And this is safe around stones, but it's still good practice to keep away from it as best you can. That leaves a nice polish. There she is. Totally handmade from start to finish. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Have a little look at these before we go out of the house. You all know what that is because you've seen it. That looks MT07. That's my Tracer 900. But what about this? That is one cracking bike. I need to get that back on the road. Absolutely lovely. Watch this space.